afternoon, ladies and gentlemen who happen to be watching this video. My name is Alex, and some of the medieval fighting groups I'm known as Kari, funny nickname. What I wanted to talk to you today is sort of a part two to the last video I made, where I pontificated about different fighting styles and sports and how they, in a combat simulation sport, how they differ and change depending on what the victory conditions are. So we know that going into a specific type of sport arena gives a certain type of victory condition, right? In boxing, certain things are scored, and wrestling, you have to be pinned to the ground, and some fights there's tap outs or knockouts. In our sword fighting sports, getting stabbed in the face, for example, when you're doing armored combat in the SCA is a kill. And in BOHRT, BOTN ACL armored combat leagues, full 14th century harness. In melee, you have to be knocked to the ground, but you can't thrust. Dagger here, you hit somebody in the arm and the leg and they're dead. No headshots. Viking, it doesn't take a hard concussive hit, it just has to touch in your body and have body mechanic to it, and it has to be done delicately so not to hurt them. So when we go into these kind of fights, we develop tactics, which are the specific details we do inside of those fights to get certain kind of results, right? If they shift to the left, I shift to the left to match them. Or if they throw a cut at my head, I will drop my guard into a hanging guard and throw a moulinet. And we have a strategy. I want to keep as far away from them as possible, and when they come towards me, I hit them while they're coming in, right? That's how my strategy for winning is keep them away and let them come in and hit them when they close. As an example, your strategy is your broad brush, how I'm going to achieve victory within the confines of what a victory condition is, and my tactics are the details I use to get there. But it occurred to me, and I'll retell the story from the first video, that I'd had a student I was working with, competent and safe, asked me to fight him for real within the context of the game. And I did, and everything changed. It had occurred to him, actually, first, that it would be a different fight than if he was sparring with me. And so I really thought, what makes the difference between sparring and fighting? And then, if fighting is really a different animal than sparring, what's universal about it? And I thought I'd pontificate here about that. So, things that, assuming that we have a base concept of understanding of fighting, so I can say things and you might follow where I'm going. It might oversimplify or be too complex, so bear with me. We know movement is a huge key. If I stand right in front of you, I am, in a way, assuming one of us is going to be bigger and stronger and faster and hoping it's going to be me. And that's one day not going to be the case, even if you are big and strong and fast. So you'll often hear the idea of align or fighting offline, is getting off onto 45-degree angles. And what this does is it changes the range, right? It changes the angle. So if all of someone's weapons are bare here, and you, right, if you're trying to punch me through the camera right in front of you, and suddenly I step off, now I have weapons to bear, but I've taken away some of that from you, so you now have to adjust to me. So one thing that's universal is positioning, using positioning to force the other person to react to what you're doing so that you are like ahead of them in a game of chess, right? This is a fairly universal concept, and you can see it applied pretty much across the board in different sports. Having something I would refer to as initiative of who can strike the other first is important. You want to not only have initiative, and how do you do that? You can do that through range, through positioning. If I have a longer weapon, I can strike you from further away. If I am better at maneuvering my positioning to you or understand how far away I have to be able to be to hit you, or I can misdirect my range and make it seem like I don't have a lot, but the reality is I have more than I let on. These are all ways to take advantage of initiative so that I can act and you have to react. Initiative, positioning, timing. I was once told that I fought in very specific patterns, and my timing was very 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Rock and roll, like 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And I could step, I could block, and I could strike, but I definitely couldn't do all three at the same time, right? And then as I got better, I could step and block, or I could step and strike. Eventually, I learned to step, block, and strike, right? Now, instead of step, block, strike, step, block. It's two things for one timing. Step, block, strike, all in one motion. Bam, right? That's three things for one motion. So I'm getting, again, initiative. I'm getting ahead of my opponent. Now, if I do that, and I step, block, strike, and alter my position in such a way that they now have to change to me, now I've done four things. And you can start seeing where this is going. How I am creating more opportunities for myself in smaller increments, and then taking that same tempo, that kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, right, and going one and, right, instead of going 1, 2, 1 and. I guess I'll 1, 2, or 1 and, right, a delay, right, a timing 1. Breaking up timing, throwing patterns, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and, right? Feigns and fakes and timing delays and feints. The misdirection is another very big one. Misdirection, which doesn't necessarily go faked out, but I'm going to hit you here, right? And if you don't do anything about it, I'm going to hit you. But if you do something about it, I've set you up for my next strike. You get thrown here, you gave me the result I was looking for, and I capitalized on it. Or I threw here, and that gave me what I wanted. So feigning and faking effectively is throwing the threats that are real and can be perceivable as real. Universal technique. Gauging your opponent effectively, being able to read the information that they're telling you and understand how to apply that. Like, for example, feigning and faking. If I'm fighting an expert level fighter, they have to react to that, because this could be a serious threat. If they don't react to that, then I know, all right, I can chamber and throw, right? Bam. So that small shoulder twitch, man, cool, he's not picking it up, bam, right? But a novice, I'm going to go like this, and they're going to ignore it. I'm going to go, whoa, they didn't do what they were supposed to do. I clearly threw the feint, and they didn't bite on it. Right? You almost have to go, right, to get somebody who isn't used to reading these kind of tells to react to it. So you need to be able to read them. and to pick up as much information as you can in as little time as you can, as safely as you can. And you can do a lot of this, if you know in advance you're going to fight by watching tape of them, or watching them if you're getting ready to go into a tournament or something, watching them come on, take the field, and where there's wear on their equipment or where on the sword it seems to be worn, what hand they're carrying their weapon in. But again, this is supposed to be universal, right? So like, how do you do this, right? If you're about to fight somebody, like you don't know who they are. You didn't have an opportunity to figure any of this out. So being able to read little things like, well, what hand are they carrying their weapon in? Do they have a weapon? What is their energy like? How are they looking at you? Do they seem scared? Are they angry? Are they confident? Are they really going to fight? Like, what's really happening here? And how do you have to react to it? Reading, if you do start fighting, where do they want to be? How much energy do they throw off right away? Are they calm? Are they patient? Are they hot out the gate? Are they athletic? Are they confident? Are they nervous? Do they have certain tells? What kind of range do they want to be at? Can you gather information while giving nothing, right? And so the next part is misdirection and deceit. It's to learn everything you can and to feed them false information, right? So assuming that at least on some level, they're reading you too, consciously or otherwise, I want to start giving them fake information, right? If every time I do this, I'm gonna punch them in the body, I almost want to give that pattern so that when I throw that right cross, I drop, and it looks like it's the same attack and it comes high, I have conditioned them to a response that is not what's going to happen to them. Thus, kind of getting back to the chess analogy. And so I want to gain information and give false information. Sun Tzu talks about never engaging in a fight that you don't know you're going to win. And, my martial arts instructor, Amate Littlejohn, Kun Tao, talks a lot about, you see two master fighters, old kung fu guys, right? They move, they crawl, they circle, and they almost don't ever touch, because when they do, it's on, like it's done. So there's all of this gaining information. In the SDA context, I watched a pair of very high-level fighters on video once compete, and I was bored stiff. They just kind of looked at each other and moved around a little bit, and eventually somebody threw a cut after like 8 minutes, and then they died, and that was the fight. And people were reacting to this in the crowd like it was the best thing they'd ever seen. I'm like, that was boring. I didn't see the nuance of the game, right? That all that positioning and movement was pressure that was all happening inside of it. Consistent things, that pressure, that nuance, energy. What do you give off? What do you tell people? When you go to fight, what are they reading on you? This is what I really wanted to get into, and again, I know this video is super long. What are they reading off of you? I'm going to expound more on that on video 3 of this, because I know this is long. So, have a nice day, and I'll talk to you in about 1 minute for me.